Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening from. We are back with another episode of the Last Word on Rugby. With me today, Mike Greenaway, we will take you into the final round robin stage of the United Rugby Championship. We will touch on the Bokke Lineman Camp, the latest invitees. It's last week of some round robin action. The Stormers still fighting for the fifth or sixth place. They're playing Cardiff. The Sharks still fighting to end up in third. They have a better chance of doing that compared to Glasgow. Let's start off with the Sharks. What's the latest news
Yeah,
out of the camp there?
yeah. Look, it's the last weekend. How are the cards going to fall? How the dice are going to land when it's all getting thrown up into the air? Yeah, look, I mean the Sharks. I'm certain are going to win in Durban. I actually think all the South African teams should do well.
Mm.
Look, I mean the Sharks are chasing that third position, and look, let's be fair. You know, the Warriors have got to go to Leinster, who are still hurting. I think there's a real opportunity there. The Sharks can finish third.
Yeah.
I think the Bulls will finish second. So everything to play for, in other words, for the Sharks. Look, it's the Scarlets are that team who, funnily enough, did beat Leinster, one of the few teams that has. But yeah, look, this Sharks team is getting better each week. John Plumtree, I spoke to a few days ago, was talking about the things that mattered to him, and they aren't always the kind of things that matter to the people who are watching on the TV. But
Yes, yes.
he's looking at improved stats in terms of territory, possession, breakdown wins, all of that. He is seeing improvement there. So while Sharks fans aren't seeing like this spectacular performance where there's like 10 tries and it's 65-0.
Yeah.
The coaching staff are seeing the team getting better incrementally, and I think they will be too much for the Scarlets. Notwithstanding a certain Plumtree in the back row for
Yeah.
for the Scarlets, but
And
I think the Sharks will win. They'll get 5 points. And then they should be in a good place then. I mean, they want to try and finish third, and that will mean not playing the Stormers, which
yeah.
is something they definitely don't want to do.
Yeah, and speaking about that Scarlet side, there is the little thing with John and his son Ting, but then also Marnus van der Merwe, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
he wants to challenge Bongi Mbonambi. I mean, he's a Springbok hopeful playing overseas, and he's been invited to the latest training camp. So there will be all that more to play for when it comes to him
Yeah.
and that duel with Bongi.
Yeah, and how cool is that? It's just so lekker to see the odd guy just suddenly come out of the blue.
Exactly.
And I
Yes.
mean, a lot of people are thinking, who is this guy? Well, we're going to see much more of him, and certainly in Durban, he's going to want to show why Rassie has picked him out. And Rassie's a massive stats man.
Yeah.
He also is big on gut feel, but he always talks about the warrior stats. How many times does a guy win the ball at the breakdown? Does he put pressure on? Rassie picks up all those things, and that's what we're seeing here with this specific case. So yeah, I mean, stats are a double-edged sword. There's nowhere to hide if you're not pulling your weight. But if you are pulling your weight, you will get noticed, and that is the really cool thing that we've seen about that call up to the lineman camp.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a duel that I am looking forward to watching when the two teams take each other on. Another duel will be for the fifth and sixth place. If I can move down to Cape Town here for that Friday night game, they call it Friday Night Lights. I don't know if Eskom will allow the lights to be on, but we'll see about that in the stadium. The Stormers facing Cardiff, another Welsham side. The Stormers must get that 5 points to end as high as possible to avoid playing a tougher team in the quarters, eh, mate?
Yeah, look, I mean, Cardiff, well, they are the top performing Welsh team, and the Stormers will be correctly focused, and I'm certain they will beat them. But yeah, uh, the Sharks do not want the Stormers to come to Durban. I've spoken to some of the players, and yeah, they most definitely would rather have the Stormers play an overseas team in the quarterfinals. Um, and I think the Stormers players are absolutely convinced that they could come to Durban uh, and win a quarterfinal, and I think they would. I'm a born and bred Durbanite here, but if results go according to I think they will. I think we're looking at all the South African teams winning, but I don't think the Stormers are going to be coming to Durban as things stand at the moment.
Yeah. And then up in Pretoria, uh, it's a tricky one for Jake White because you would want your Bulls players to all be on form and all on song in their final round robin game. But then there's that ever slight chance of them picking up an injury like Johan Goosen did in last weekend's game. And suddenly they are without their number one player in possibly a quarterfinal at home. And we know that they've lost one quarterfinal and then went on to lose two finals. So they will be desperate to have all their players fresh and fit to play in all of the knockout games. But then, how do you approach this Dragons game? Do you change up and select the
Yeah,
Team Gym team? Or what's your take on that?
yeah. So we are talking about the Bulls, who are
Red Bulls, yeah,
second on the table, playing the team that's 16th. Um, so it really shouldn't matter who the Bulls play. I mean, the Dragons got absolutely nothing going in this game. I mean,
yeah, they do.
it's it's the finish line for them, an embarrassing season. It's all over. I really can't see them challenging the Bulls in any way or form. The Bulls obviously have some emotional stuff that is going on in their camp now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
look, I just, the way they played the previous week. I mean, that first half an hour, I thought was some of the best
absolutely
Bulls
amazing. Yeah,
rugby I've
yes,
seen. They just completely pulled away. You know, uh, the game was 1 in 30 minutes. So yeah,
yeah,
maybe we can sort of say, well, maybe they took the foot off the pedal, but why wouldn't they? You do
mm,
have to look after your players. You do have to look after. I mean, into the quarterfinals, so there really is no point. I mean, they were,
yeah,
what was it, 31-0 after 30 minutes.
31-0, yeah,
You don't have to win 75-0 when you have other bridges to cross. You've got
mm,
quarterfinals coming up. Yeah, and Johan Goosen, yes, that guy really. It's just such a pity that
that's
that
just right.
I
Yeah,
wonder if he ever writes an autobiography, it'll be the curse of the 5G pitches,
ah,
that
that,
because he never has seemed to be able to recover from that one big knee injury that he had. And I can't remember the exact game. It was Glasgow or Edinburgh, or it was one of those 5G pitches that arguably kind of ended his career in a way, or not ended it, but uh, you know, that injury keeps cropping up, and I
Yeah.
think it does go back to one of those pitches. So yeah, a real pity there, but good to see Willie LaRue stepping in, coming in, and Keegan Johannes, obviously.
Yeah,
But
Keegan's been brilliant.
you
Yeah.
know, the Bulls can carry on, and and I'm sure they are going to do extremely well. Yeah, so a kind of an interesting game for them, this one. You know, we've alluded to the fact that they've suffered a devastating loss to a member of their greater personnel. It is yeah, a game against the team that's propping up the table.
Hmm.
Uh, so it depends on what's going on in their camp. How do
Yes.
they choose to to treat this? And
Yeah.
I have a feeling, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, that they'll want to make a statement
Hmm.
for one of their members who's no longer with us.
Yeah. And yes, like before we head that way, we're talking about the games now and what it could mean for the Stormers specifically, but also the Sharks and the Bulls wanting that. I think they need about 1 point to
Mm,
be 100% sure of that second place. But another opportunity, or can I say it like this? An opportunity for guys who haven't been selected to this latest Springbok alignment camp to make a statement in the final round of games in the URC, especially in the
yeah,
Stormers, Bulls, Sharks camp. Just a final statement from them and to show why they could have maybe or should have been there, but also an
yeah.
opportunity for those guys who were selected. I mean, Marnus is a fine example.
Mm,
For them to show why Rassi selected them for the second alignment camp. There's some amazing names
yeah.
in that new squad for the camp.
Yeah, and I like what Rassi does in that he rewards people who, over the course of a season, are consistently good in whatever it is they're supposed to be doing. So if we're talking about open side flankers or blind side flankers, and I mean the Chatukas have really been banging on the door for some time. I think Vincent would have been called
Yeah,
up
yeah.
long ago, if there wasn't that sort of bureaucratic
That
issue
that ID thing. Yeah.
with the card. And I mean, you know what? I actually thought the best player in the second half, when the Sharks last played, I thought Manu, when he came on for Eben, was just fantastic. I think there is a very good chance that we will see two Chachukas in that Springbok
Yeah.
squad at,
I
at
don't
some
doubt that.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Manu was really good, and Rassi likes guys who are versatile, who loose forwards who can also play in the second row,
Lock and
and
yeah.
so on, and more than just one position in the back row. I don't think it is an impossibility that those two brothers will one day feature
Yeah.
for the Springboks. The Congo's loss is South Africa's gain.
Yeah. 100%.
But the thing is, Rassi takes note, and that is the thing that players can just take to bed with them every night. If I work hard, I know that there is someone with a radar who is
Yeah.
picking up how many times I hit a breakdown, how many
Hmm.
constructive tackles I make, etc., and so on. I'm getting noted. And by the same token, as I said earlier, those who not know that they're in trouble. So yeah, it's good to know that Big Brother's watching.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, even for people in the Varsity Cup, I mean, Tokozo Makaza, oh my goodness, what a season he's had. A kicking fly off, a kicking winger, excuse me, a kicking winger.
Mm,
Much in the mold of Cheslin Colby, he plays in the scrum cap. With a swivel of his hips, he can beat one or two defenders. He can accelerate around defenders. So a brilliant reward being called up to Springbok alignment camp as an amateur player, not even a professional player. He's going to the Cheetahs, or he is already there. He will play Currie Cup for them, but having not played professional rugby for very long as a varsity player, I mean, what a reward, and it shows just how strong that system is in South Africa as well. So kudos to UCT. Flecky's done well with that team. But also kudos to the Varsity Cup. They've produced so many Springboks over the years, and just another example of how brilliant the competition is with Makaza Skolap, Mike. Just that earth of talent in the Varsity Cup.
Yeah, and the more platforms we have in South African rugby, the better. And I mean, I read an article a couple of weeks ago about the billion rand industry that is the schoolboy rugby.
Yeah,
But
100%.
and it is, and then you have the Varsity Cup, which is that just that one step between schools and then the big level. I mean, I remember Francois Pienaar at the very first launch of Varsity Cup rugby, right in the beginning, when it kicked off, and we're talking over a decade ago. He said, "Mark my words, we are going to see this platform produce Springboks that otherwise would never have made it." Because
Exactly.
we have so many good schoolboys. We've only, we've got the Craven Week, but we need that intermediate level where we can see guys that might slip through, the ladder, come
Yeah.
through, and that's exactly what's happened. And long may it continue.
Yeah, it's not going to be long before Rassie Erasmus pulls off the unthinkable and calls up a player in some of one or two of South Africa's amateur clubs. We could possibly see that in the future. How brilliant would that not be?
I'm sure.
Um, Thanks for joining in on another episode of The Last Word on Rugby. Next week, we will be back. We will bring you the quarterfinal fixtures. We will then know exactly who's playing who, where the Stormers will be going, whether it's Durban or possibly Glasgow, who the Sharks will be taking on, and then who has that unfortunate task of heading to Loftus to face Jake White and his Bulls at the end of May. Thanks for tuning in. Please don't forget to click that like and subscribe button, share the channel, and we will bring you more on the URC and then the Springbok alignment camp that's taking place towards the end of the month. That's all from us for now. Cheers and have a good week and weekend of rugby. Cheers, Mike.